Here's a fact about media. Have you noticed that new media these days feels different to how it felt about 10 or 20 years ago? They don't elicit the same emotions as they once did. Even stuff that's been critically acclaimed just doesn't hit the same. Well, you're not crazy or alone, because I've been feeling the same way as well for a while. Coincidentally, since my parents passed away, so I decided to do a deep dive into why media doesn't hit the way it used to anymore. And the unfortunate truth is that the games we play, the movies we watch, and the TV shows we also watch just aren't as good as the ones of days past. And what about this game or this movie? It's good. Well, hold your horses, John Strawman. There is more nuance to this discussion than just old good and new bad. Ignore the title of the video, I just did that to get your attention. Also, yes, I am going to be joined by John Strawman in order to provide you with counter-arguments to what I'm trying to say here on this episode of FactsAbout. So without further ado, let's begin by talking video games. It's been no secret that a lot of stinker games have released over this general range of time that haven't been of the highest standard, but instead of punching down, I want to start off with Donkey Kong Bonanza, a game that's pretty beloved. One of the rare 10s from IGN, a 91 on Metacritic, and it even got a nomination for the Game Awards. Clearly, this game is beloved. Unfortunately, I will have to bash this game for a bit. I'm sorry, but I have to. Decay Bonanza's claim to fame is its fully destructible levels. Why jump your way through levels when you can just smash your way through them? No, seriously, why don't you? But the levels are designed around the destruction. Alright, fair, but how come I can activate the Elephant Bonanza and suck the ground until I get enough gold to buy enough maps to get every collectible in the level? Clearly, this is the better and more fun method of completing the game than actually engaging with the level design, otherwise the game would try and stop me. Also, this destruction mechanic isn't unique. Why can't I just boot up Minecraft instead to get my destruction fill? The only real difference besides the fancy graphics is that I'm playing as an ape with giant hands and super strength. I mean, I guess there's also the Bonanza form. Steve can't transform into a zebra, but these raise another problem. For those unaware, DK has the ability to transform into 5 superpowered forms. There's Kong, which is just a beefed up version of DK's regular moveset, Zebra, which lets him run fast, Ostrich, which lets him glide, Snake, which gives him a big leap, and Elephant, who can suck up chunks of terrain. Now, these super forms are tied to a meter. Once the meter's filled by collecting gold, you will enter the form of your choice until another meter runs out. The catch is, you can usually collect enough gold to transform again by the time you run out. But most of the game can be completed without the Bonanza forms, and parts that need them are clearly marked with objects or gates that only a specific form can use. Yes, this may be true, however, whenever I try to get through an obstacle as base DK and fail the first time, I feel a sudden urge to clear it with the Bonanzas instead. This urge feels like a weight on my back, and my body suddenly itches, and the only way I can get it to stop is going Bonanza and basically cheat my way to the end. This is Nintendo's fault for giving me such freedom to cheat through their game. Oh, but it's for kids. You're getting mad at a game for kids for being too easy. But that's the thing. What kid likes Donkey Kong? Sure, the country games were great, no doubt, but other than that, our beloved Kong is not relevant to today's youth. And no, introducing something new to the kids is not an option. As we all know, kids are only allowed to like one thing, and right now that's Skibbity Toilet. Clearly, all 4 million people who have bought this game are sweaty Nintendo gamers who haven't beaten a game harder than, I don't know, Pikmin 2, something easy like that. And also me. Another thing to note is that everyone is so nice in this game. To a fault. You can destroy a guy's home and he doesn't even react. They introduce an entire species called the Fractones that are designed to be destroyed as they'll regenerate immediately. All I'm saying is that this toxic positivity can be a bad influence on kids if and only if they played the game. They would be very confused why DK gets praised for wrecking ecosystems, yet their parents are upset they punched a hole in the drywall. But this is still an original game that's just wearing the skin of a popular IP. Maybe we should turn our attention towards a remake. Resident Evil 4, released in 2005, sits at a 96 on Metacritic, a 9.5 on IGN, and got Game of the Year at the Spike Game Awards, the predecessor to the actual Game Awards. Resident Evil 4, released in 2023, sits at a 93 on Metacritic, a 10 on IGN, and got nominated for Game of the Year. So it appears that this game can stand toe-to-toe with the original. Unfortunately, this remake does very small things to lessen the experience of the original. For example, in the original, Ashley was an extremely complex system. She would stay by your side, and in combat, you could just tell her to hide in a locker and shoot away. However, in the remake, Ashley now doesn't need a locker to get away from you. She can just go away and come back at the press of a button. Sometimes you can shove her into a locker, but she snarks at you. And then when she gets snatched by an enemy, instead of calling for your help, she tells the enemy to let go of her. This makes no sense. What would be the more likely scenario? This guy with clear intent giving up all purpose and letting you go, or Leon knocking the guy out? Think, Ashley, think! In order to make up for this botching of a mechanic, Ashley no longer has a health bar and can't be killed, so you don't even have to interact with this mechanic anymore. But Ashley was such an annoying mechanic to deal with in the original, and is one of the worst things about it. This is rewriting history. If you checked gaming forums back in 2005, no one actually had an issue with Ashley. This is only an issue made up by modern gamers because they hate a little bit of difficulty in their games. Besides this, the game is mostly the same except for itty-bitty changes that just make the game feel very different, and it makes it significantly worse. This game will eventually be forgotten by all and will never be discussed in relation to the original for these mistakes, and this is already reflected in the Metacritic score being 93 in contrast to the original's 96.
But John, that is much of a difference. Also, did you just say that IGN gave the remake a 10 but the original 9.5? Why aren't you comparing those scores?
Well, unfortunately, IGN disagreed with me one too many times, so that doesn't count. They did give Imagine Party Babies a 7.5 after all. To end off this segment, I would like to bring your attention back to Donkey Kong Bonanza, which sits at $70 on the eShop and lets you purchase a $20 DLC. That is $90 in total, plus the console, the controller, the TV, the cables, the gas needed to go to the store to buy all of this, the electricity needed to run all of this, and the regular medical checkups you need to make sure your hands still work. It's gonna run you a pretty penny, unless you obtain the game through alternative means. What alternative means? Well, it's simple. All you need to do is... Let's talk about movies. We went out and polled 100 friends of the channel about what their favorite movie of 2025 was, and we'll be talking about the top results. These are... Nope, 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 nope. A Minecraft movie, nope, nope. Lilo and Stitch, nope, 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 nope. I don't know why this one's here, it came out in 2022. Nope, 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 nope. Nope, nope, nope. And Snow White and the Seven Dwarves. As you can see, 2025 was a terrible year for movies. Let's begin with the Minecraft movie. Oh, I'm sorry, a Minecraft movie, because this movie was made by pretentious dorks. This film is the perfect example of every modern movie's problems. First of all, look at the cast. It's got everything a modern movie needs to appeal to an audience. Woman, Jason Momoa, and a child. Also, why is everything CGI?
Oh, they need to CGI everything to make it look like Minecraft.
This is bullshit. Fan films have achieved the same result from master prop making and gene splicing ever since the game came out and did it for cheaper. Also, what's wrong with the colors? I remember when movies were so colorful, even old action movies had good coloring, and this is Minecraft. It should be treated with the respect it deserves. I'm not even going to talk about the other two because they have similar problems yet are worse, and we could move on to whatever MCU films came out last year that everyone hated. Unfortunately, I watched all of these films and I hated all of them every single time, and I know what you're going to say.
Why are you watching big franchise movies that you know you'll hate instead of watching more obscure films that you might enjoy?
And to that I say, don't you dare give me the solution to my problem. I mean, fair enough. Let's take a quick look at some smaller films, such as Predator Badlands. And this one actually got good reviews, so there must be merit to it, right? The problem with this statement is that it does not live up to the height of the originals. This is because they made the Predator the good guy in this one. I'm serious.
But they don't actually change the dynamic of predators and humanity. They just make a predator the protagonist of this film.
But this proves my point, as predators can't be good guys. They can never be good guys. They shouldn't be good guys. Casting any predator as anything other than antagonistic is a terrible idea. And don't you dare tell me to call them Yacha. They are predators. Don't tell me to call them anything else but.
But what about Terminator 2? That had its ultimate killing machine turn good.
Well, that's different because that movie was good, and I know The Badlands is considered good by critics, but that doesn't count. Oh yeah, and Superman isn't that subtle. Its plot is clearly about a political subject that's been in the news lately. That's right, the conflict between the Atlanteans and the Babylonians. You ain't subtle, James Gunn. But there are probably a few other movies from 2025 I should mention, such as Weapons, One Battle After Another, K-Pop Demon Hunters, Marty Supreme, Nirvana the band, the show, the movie, Hamnet, The Secret Agent, Begonia. All of these are bad.
Oh, but that's just your opinion. These movies are just not for you.
No! It isn't just not for me, it's not my opinion. These movies are objectively bad. You hear me? Bad. And if you think otherwise, you are a mentally deficient person with a low IQ. Don't even get me started on the Little Shop of Horrors reboot that's coming out later this year, not because I don't want to, but because I've already talked about it in a previous video. And Sinners ripped off every movie. Also, can we talk about the streaming service situation to watch all of these movies? I need Netflix, HBO Max, Disney Plus, Peacock, Hulu, Tubi, YouTube Premium, and home insurance. It's crazy.
Oh, can't you just buy the movies individually on DVD or off of a digital storefront instead of buying these cost-increasing streaming services?
And yes, I can, but that runs a pretty penny as well, so I have an alternative solution for you. What you need to do is... Alright, I will admit I got a bit heated back there, so how about we talk about something a bit more positive, like independent animation. It's all the rage these days, so I don't even need to explain it. You all are probably aware of my love of the amazing digital circus, as I've made multiple shorts about it and even a full video discussing my favorite character. And even though Hazbin Hotel and Helluva Boss are my cup of tea, as I've mentioned in a previous video, it's still worth bringing up. The rise of indie animation is a net positive for us as it brings new original ideas to the limelight that otherwise would have never been made. And there's something for everyone. There's the rest of the things produced by Glitch besides Digital Circus and Lackadaisy, But my favorite part is how Glitch is sticking it and absolutely obliterating Disney and those other mainstream animation studios. Fun fact, the Knights of Guinevere pilot absolutely owned Disney so much that they lost $4 billion when the pilot dropped. I'm serious, look it up. And once Glitch and these independent studios absolutely destroy these mainstream hacks, they'll only make things that I will like. Of course, they'd also have to make a successful streaming service and build Glitch amusement parks and also do it in a way to effectively squash the already existing studios, basically making it a monopoly. Oh well. Also, connections to shady people, but that's just what you need to do to make it in this world. I'm serious. I recently got curious about how the Litter channel was able to pay me despite it being a channel with only 1.6k subs as of the making of this video, so I dug around and found out that it's because... Hold on, I'm getting a phone call. Alright, I see. Thank you. Alright, so change of plans, scratch everything I just said because all of those indie projects I mentioned before are actually indie slop.
Why are you calling it indie slop? What's wrong with it?
Well, you see, every character in these indie shows talk like that. You know, they're all written like that. It makes sense, don't be a bitch. This is because these shows are made by amateur frauds who learn their skills through Tumblr and porn sites. Even though most of these shows are given out for free on YouTube, if you want to watch these for some reason, I think you should seek out alternative means of watching these shows. What you need to do is get on your favorite browser and type in...
Hello, I am Kevin Peter Richardson, but you can call me Kevin Peter. I am the PR manager for the Litter channel, and I'm here today to remind viewers that piracy is against the law in many places. Furthermore, explaining intricate instructions on how to pirate media to the public is also very illegal and against site guidelines. Before we continue, I would also like to apologize for the abrupt cuts throughout this video. Now, please enjoy the rest of the video.
John, you've only been dissing the latest things and not actually explaining the systemic reason they're all bad now.
Okay, ignoring my very obvious subtext, fine. So let's actually dive into the meat of this video and explain what's not going on. This has nothing to do with the current political climate, and I am not saying this because I am afraid of people telling me off for my political opinions. That's just crazy. I try to stay apolitical in these videos because my personal politics have nothing to do with these videos, and that's all there is to it. Now on to the first real reason for media's downfall, and that's the fact that everyone's trying to sell you something nowadays. This was never a problem back then, and I can prove it. Ever notice that in the late 2010s and 2020s, they've begun to change their logos into a more generic style in comparison to Frutiger Arrow, a style full of color and life.
But John, the Frutiger Arrow style was made by tech companies to make their products seem more eco-friendly since that was on everyone's minds at the time.
Well, you see, first of all, shut up. Secondly, shut up. Third of all, clearly they didn't make this to sell us something if it makes me feel all warm and fuzzy inside. They just did it for the love of the game, obviously. Because this dull, corporate style of art only incites rage inside of me in order to make me buy their products more, because the only goal of this is to sell you something. Anyway, completely unrelated, have you considered joining the Litter Club, the Litter Channel's Patreon? We have recently added a new tier that's only $1 a month. Check it out. Now, the next thing that's bogging down media these days is the need to send a message. As we all know, the purpose of media is to entertain, and any attempt to deviate from that is a misguided move from the perpetrator.
Oh, but isn't FactsAbout purpose to inform? You're a hypocrite.
That's different. It just is. The artists of old understood this golden rule, and this is why they made masterpieces, and the people of today make slop.
But John, media from back then had messages as well.
You're lying. You're lying. Are you seriously going to try and tell me that the original Star Wars trilogy was about the Vietnam War, or that the prequel trilogy was about the Iraq War? That's just ridiculous. Now, what messages are these movies promoting? Well, I don't really know, but I don't like it. But clearly it's having a negative impact on these industries, because let me ask you something, dear FactsAbout truthers. Remember the movies that came out in 2025 that I listed? Most of them have been out for a year, yes? Well then how come none of these movies have the same cultural impact as The Matrix has 25 years later? Answer that.
But John, clearly this is just you growing up and noticing things that you could not when you were a child. And you are now realizing that things are changing, but instead of changing with it, you've chosen to double down in the old, thinking that things have only gotten worse now.
No.
And that everything was fine back then, and this is a shared experience with every other generation before you. And instead of trying to make the new better and work for you, you're just complaining until it becomes old again.
No.
But even if it magically becomes old again, you will never be satisfied. Because you don't miss the games you played or the movies you watched back then. You miss being a child. You miss childhood.
No.
You miss
your
your parents.
No! Thanks for watching FactsAbout truthers. If you liked the video, like the video, subscribe to the Litter channel, and check out the Patreon. Next time, we will be... Sorry, George got this dog whistle, and for some reason I could hear it. I don't know why, though. Anyway, see you next time.